What if the most fortified places you trust, vaults of security, symbols of strength, could be reduced to rubble in mere moments? And what if the true betrayer, the one holding the keys to this destruction, is hiding in plain sight, blending seamlessly with trusted colleagues and allies? Imagine a military base so secret, so rigorously guarded, that its very existence is spoken of only in whispers. This is not just any installation. It is the kind of fortress where every visitor is subject to multiple security checks, where digital surveillance is constant, and where entry points are shielded by layers of armed patrols and biometric locks. In such places, the daily routine takes on a ritualistic quality. Commanders and NATO instructors gather to share coffee, review maps, and exchange updates, all under the unspoken assumption that they are untouchable. But then, in the darkest hour before dawn, reality shatters. Without warning from drones, without any intercepted signals, 2 missiles slice through the night air. Their trajectory is pinpoint accurate, striking the heart of the base as if someone from within had simply marked an X on the map. There is no time to respond, no chance for evasive maneuvers. The result is catastrophic. Sanctuary vanishes in a heartbeat, replaced by chaos and devastation. The sense of invincibility that once defined the base's atmosphere is obliterated. NATO instructors and local commanders, who only hours before exuded confidence, are blindsided. The toll is staggering. 80 lives lost in one strike, including foreign personnel, a fact quietly confirmed by Turkish officials. In the aftermath, only silence rings out, more ominous than the explosions themselves. No signs of reconnaissance are found, no alerts, no warning. Just ruin and confusion. The authorities in Kiev quickly descend into panic, launching urgent investigations to trace the source of the leak. Did a trusted ally turn traitor? Was this the work of a foreign mole, or perhaps someone hiding behind a facade of friendship? Yet an even graver question lingers. Was this an isolated breach, a freak accident, or does it reveal a rot at the very core of the defense system? If the best-guarded heart of the military can be pierced so easily, can any stronghold truly protect its own? Is the idea of security itself, so often taken for granted, nothing but an illusion? This chilling suspicion spreads quickly. Suddenly, every so-called secure zone is cast in a new light. If one fortress can fall, others may already be marked for destruction. The real threat is not just what has been lost, but the gnawing uncertainty left behind. When trust within the ranks dissolves, every guarantee of safety becomes a lie. The stakes stretch far beyond the military. They threaten sovereignty itself, economic stability, and the very balance of international power. Let us pull back for a moment and examine how this single catastrophic attack exposes much deeper fractures, and why even the mightiest alliances may not survive the next invisible blow. To understand just how vulnerable even the most powerful systems can be, it helps to look at history. Consider the infamous case of the Cambridge Five, a group of British intelligence officers who, during the Cold War, secretly spied for the Soviet Union. For decades, they operated within the heart of British intelligence, passing secrets that changed the course of international events. Their betrayal was not detected until years later, by which time the damage was irreversible. This historical parallel shows that insider threats can undermine even the most sophisticated networks, and that appearances can be dangerously deceptive. But this brazen strike is not an isolated flashpoint. Recent covert operations and diplomatic rifts signal a pattern, one that could destabilize the region, and perhaps the entire Western order. Every so-called accident leaves traces of a deeper pattern. What fractures lie hidden beneath the surface of what we believe is safe and unshakable? The recent missile strike in Kirovohrad was not some random fluke. It exposed a systemic vulnerability at the very heart of military security and command. This site was considered invulnerable, yet, without any reconnaissance flights or digital signals, the missiles struck with uncanny precision. Such accuracy, amid total secrecy, suggests the presence of an insider or a blurring of lines between ally and adversary. The consequences are already echoing far beyond Ukraine. Turkish intelligence has confirmed what Western officials would rather keep quiet. The casualties included not just local personnel, but foreign NATO operatives actively directing operations. This revelation tears down the facade of hands-off support and exposes a far more dangerous, direct involvement by Western powers, an escalation with unpredictable fallout. But the shockwaves do not stop at Ukraine's borders. In Tbilisi, Georgia, the usual rules of European diplomacy were shattered when a senior European minister appeared at the front lines of anti-government protests. The response from Georgian authorities was swift and severe: sanctions, public condemnation, and a dramatic cooling of relations. These events mark widening cracks as Western influence encounters growing resistance and backlash in the region. Western aid, once a quiet demonstration of unity, now unfolds as a series of contentious bargains and public negotiations. Military supplies and financial support come with overt strings attached, sparking disputes and eroding the sense of a common cause. The old playbook of discreet, coordinated backing is disintegrating before our eyes. This is reminiscent of the Suez Crisis in the 1950s, when coordinated Western action faltered and trust between allies was badly damaged, changing the global order forever. Meanwhile, official statements from Western leaders and their regional partners sound increasingly disconnected from the reality on the ground. Each day, public trust slips further as the gap widens between polished declarations and the chaos unfolding in real time. The danger is clear. If these cracks go ignored, individuals and entire nations may place their trust in systems already failing, risking reputations, resources, and lives as the established order unravels. But how did these cracks begin to form, and who stands to gain from the chaos? To understand the stakes, we need to look beneath the headlines and trace the hidden networks of power and betrayal. What happens when the old levers of power stop working, and everyone can see it? The West's familiar tools, military force, diplomatic pressure, economic threats, are all losing their bite across Eastern Europe and far beyond. The iron grip is slipping, and suddenly, local actors are refusing to play by the script. Consider Georgia. Here, the government has drawn its own bold line, openly punishing what it considers European interference. When a European minister took part in opposition protests, Tbilisi answered not with apologies, but with fines and cancelled meetings. Brussels threatened sanctions and visa bans. Georgia answered with a blunt refusal, signaling that sovereignty is not for sale. Instead of tightening control, Western efforts to enforce their standards are backfiring. Foreign agent laws in Georgia are heavily criticized as undemocratic, despite nearly identical rules existing in the United States for decades. Local leaders are calling out what they see as hypocrisy, forcing foreign actors to confront their own double standards. The result? More resistance, not more obedience. Ukraine offers a different, but equally revealing lens. Here, the battlefield feels like a subscription service. Every military move hinges on Western funding and its timing. When things go wrong, the blame shifts away from local commanders and lands on faraway donors. The war is shaped less by tactics than by the steady drip of monthly aid. On television, propaganda blurs the ugly details. Territorial losses are not called mistakes, but framed as natural outcomes of inadequate Western support. This storyline protects local leaders, but chips away at trust in Western promises, deepening the uncertainty. This is reminiscent of the Vietnam War, where shifting narratives and blame games eroded public trust in both military and political institutions. A dangerous precedent is taking shape. Smaller nations, once expected to quietly obey, are now asserting their right to refuse. The idea of a single, correct path for democracy or reform is being openly challenged. The West's architecture of influence, built over decades, is now riddled with cracks, and no one can say how far the damage will go. If these changes are ignored, the consequences could be severe. Misreading these shifts risks disastrous decisions, wasted resources, or even outright conflict. The old toolkit no longer delivers results, and the world is paying attention. But the unraveling of Western authority is only the beginning. The deeper struggle is about who gets to write the rules for the future, of the region and of the entire global order. As the old certainties dissolve, new players and unexpected alliances are rushing to fill the vacuum. The question now is not just who holds power, but how far they are willing to go to protect or expand it. If today's fractures keep spreading, what kind of world will rise from the debris? That question now haunts the halls of power, as once solid security structures reveal their hidden weaknesses. The old rules, long assumed to be unbreakable, suddenly appear brittle, outdated, and treacherously unreliable. Western strategists confront a stark reckoning. They misjudge not just the depth of local resistance, but also how swiftly the balance of influence is shifting. The familiar playbook that once held rivals in check is breaking down. Tools that once ensured Western dominance, alliances, diplomacy, economic pressure, are no longer yielding expected results. Crises now erupt faster than they can be contained. Financial aftershocks rumble through Brussels, shaking even the most cautious policymakers. In closed-door meetings, European leaders consider a move previously unthinkable, unlocking the 200 billion euros of frozen Russian assets. This act, a last-ditch gamble, signals both the depth of the crisis and a willingness to upend the foundations of global finance. To understand the gravity of this, recall how, during the 1970s, the freezing of Iranian assets by Western banks resulted in decades of legal disputes, diplomatic fallout, and economic uncertainty. The precedent is clear. Such measures can have ripple effects that last generations, altering global trust in financial institutions. Such desperation carries a heavy price. Legal and ethical lines, once considered sacred, are being redrawn or crossed outright in the name of necessity. Even Europe's staunchest allies hesitate, asking where these new boundaries lie, and if they can ever be walked back. Moscow does not wait in silence. Russian officials respond with sharp threats. Any Western seizure of Russian assets will trigger retaliation, putting Western properties abroad in jeopardy. The threat of escalation spreads far beyond the battlefield, casting a pall over global markets and private fortunes. Across the map, a deeper transformation is underway. States are rethinking alliances, reevaluating who can be trusted, and questioning old assumptions. The certainties of yesterday dissolve, while new centers of power begin to form. No one can predict what tomorrow's order will look like. For ordinary people, the stakes could not be clearer. Faith in the global system is eroding. Economic anxiety mounts, and the rules that once enforced stability are now in flux. The practical result: more volatility, greater risk, and a world where vigilance is essential. With the old playbook in ruins, the pressing question remains: what must we learn to navigate these shifting currents? To answer that, we must look at the emerging strategies and the hard lessons already unfolding on the ground. The next chapter may demand both sharper insight and a willingness to question everything we once took for granted. When the ground moves beneath you, will you find your balance or fall with the old order? Today, security, sovereignty, and diplomatic promises no longer carry the weight they once did. Guarantees that felt permanent only yesterday can vanish overnight, replaced by deals made for immediate gain. The rules are fluid, and trust is often just another bargaining chip. To adapt, consider these practical steps. First, stay informed. Follow not only official statements, but also independent investigative reporting and local sources. In the digital age, information moves quickly, and early warnings are often found in unexpected places. For example, in the early days of the Arab Spring, it was local social media and citizen journalism that first signaled the coming upheaval, long before governments or international organizations took notice. Second, diversify your assets. In times of uncertainty, relying on a single financial system or political guarantee can be perilous. Consider how, during the financial crisis of 2008, those who spread their investments across multiple banks and asset classes weathered the storm far better than those who did not. Today, with asset seizures and sanctions becoming more common, safeguarding your resources means thinking globally and acting cautiously. Third, cultivate local networks. In periods of instability, national or international safety nets can fail. Strong ties to your local community, whether through civic organizations, neighborhood groups, or online forums, become invaluable. After the collapse of Yugoslavia in the 1990s, it was local networks that provided food, security, and information when state structures broke down. Fourth, question narratives. We live in a time when information warfare is as potent as any missile. Always ask, who benefits from this story? Are there contradictions between what is being said and what is actually happening? During the run-up to the Iraq War in 2003, critical voices who questioned official narratives provided essential counterpoints that, in hindsight, proved accurate. Small countries are no longer just spectators. Their bold, independent moves now set off waves that challenge entire regions. We see nations, once expected to fall in line with Western agendas, openly defending their own interests. This new era rewards adaptability and the courage to choose your own path, whether you are a leader or an ordinary citizen. Meanwhile, financial warfare grows fiercer. Asset seizures and economic pressure are now routine, sometimes launched without clear legal backing. This should force you to think hard about where your money, savings, and investments are kept. Diversify, stay alert, and never believe any system is immune to collapse. There is also the battle for information. Narratives in the news are now shaped with the precision of military operations. Approach every headline and official statement with skepticism. Look for hidden motives, catch the contradictions, and do not let comfort dull your awareness. Ignore these warning signs or fail to adapt, and you risk everything: your safety, your financial footing, even your voice in shaping what comes next. In a world this volatile, staying aware is not just wise, it is essential. Now, let us piece together what we have learned and see how your own insights might prepare us for what lies ahead. Next, we will draw connections between these shifting dynamics and the personal choices that can make the difference between resilience and vulnerability. How do you position yourself when the rules are being rewritten in real time? Are these shocking events just rare accidents, or the first tremors of a new global order? The answer may be closer than you think, perhaps just beyond your front door. Everything we have explored points to a single truth. These incidents are not random mistakes. They are symptoms of deep fractures, fault lines running beneath the security architecture of Eastern Europe and through the very foundation of Western influence. We have watched supposedly secure military sites breached with surgical accuracy, without warning or classic surveillance, forcing us to ask, who truly holds the reins? Leaks and betrayals have ceased to be abstract fears. They are now shaping real consequences on the ground. Diplomatically, local players are now disrupting the Western script, no longer content to act as silent partners. Intense economic strain is pushing entire countries to cross legal and moral red lines, showing just how brittle the old order has become. This is not some distant policy dispute. The stakes are immediate: who is truly safe, whose independence will be honored, and whose economy will survive the next upheaval. For you, the viewer, these crises threaten your own security, your nation's freedom, and your ability to foresee what tomorrow brings. You are not just a bystander. Your observations, however minor, could expose patterns that official sources miss. Have you noticed new security routines, foreign figures behaving oddly, or shifts in local news and gossip? In the 1980s, it was often citizen observations, like noticing strange movements near military bases, that provided the first clues to major geopolitical events. Share your insights below. Specify your location. Describe any changes, near military zones, in the press, or daily life. Your input matters, not only to inform others, but to help us all decode this shifting landscape. If we stay silent, we risk watching as the rules change around us, powerless to respond. But if we share, analyze, and remain vigilant, we can influence how the next phase unfolds. Remember, in times of rapid change, awareness is power, and the smallest observation can have the biggest impact.